Last week on For the Record.
Some statistics that I've seen recently indicate that between 2 and 6% of all people are affected to some degree by hoarding disorder. And the 6% is typically on the more weighted toward the elderly.
We took a look at the issues with hoarding in the Pittsburgh region, including the challenges it can create for first responders.
The problem with hoarding is it's usually a hidden problem until you really get to see it either responding there or a neighbor calls or it's reported through council.
Now this week we focus on the solutions.
The first step is really accepting and acknowledging that you have an issue with excessive acquiring.
And the help that's available.
We're pretty much the canary in the cave. We'll see problems start from the very beginning.
For the Record starts now. Welcome to For the Record. I'm Michelle Wright. If you joined us last week, you got to see our in-depth look at the issue of hoarding, which statistics show likely affects thousands of our Pittsburgh neighbors. This week, we go beyond the problem and talk about the solutions. Later this half hour, you'll hear from Fight the Blight, a Westmoreland County-based group dedicated to addressing all aspects of hoarding disorder. But first, I want to show you more of my interview with Pittsburgh Fire Lieutenant Chad Horosky and why he says first responders are often the first to spot a problem with hoarding. What advice do you have for people who might be holding on to too much stuff in their house in terms of responding in an emergency? Can you give some suggestions or maybe kind of spell out what you would have to face?
Well, if you feel like you're holding on to things and you're struggling with the fact that you know you're starting to collect things, the best thing is to do is to go to your PCP and let him know, and then he can refer to the appropriate persons or clinicians to get you the help that you may need.
Because in an emergency, it could mean a loss of life.
It could, yes it could.
And that manifests into something that's a whole other problem.
Yes.
So it's good to get the help that you need. Is it easy in Western Pennsylvania to find help?
Unfortunately, I think referrals to mental health is a difficult thing right now. I know there was a shortage specifically after the pandemic. It was very hard to get any type of appointment for that. But now I think it's starting to lessen a little bit, and it's becoming a little bit easier, but your PCP can definitely point you in the right direction. Mental
health help is so important, and it should not be stigmatized because at some point, a lot of people are going to need, at some point in their life, some mental health help. So there's nothing wrong if you need it, if you need to seek the help you need, because it is out there.
Yeah, and there's a health component to it. So it's one of the forgotten things within our society is we neglect the fact that it's mental health. And it affects everything else. Heart disease can be linked to it. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be linked to the stressors associated with it, how it affects your life. It's just a snowballing effect.
We found a lot of people are hiding their hoarding problem from their loved ones. They're embarrassed about it, that they realize that there is something that's not natural about putting so much stuff in their house that their rooms can't be used as they were designed to be used, a kitchen, a bedroom. Are you seeing that in terms of post-pandemic? Are you seeing the numbers go up?
It felt like it did. I don't have any data showing it did, but it felt like there was more hoarding incidents taking place. And a lot of times we would find it out either through a 911 call or utilities outages in the homes. So say they had a water problem or electric problem in the home, they were too embarrassed to get a contractor in there to do any work in fear of retaliation or being reported to some, so they would go without water. Maybe they're going to the neighbors to get buckets of water so they can use the sanitation in the home. It's a problem that's...
People would go to great lengths to hide the problem.
Yes. Some people would live in a vehicle outside of their home because they couldn't get into their home.
And this is happening in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's surprising. I think a lot of people in this episode are going to be really surprised to hear that our neighbors are having this problem.
Yeah, I mean, people would go to great lengths. They're shameful of the conditions that they're in, and they don't want to live like that, but there's that barrier. So it just gets to the point where Some people have 2 homes. You know, years ago, houses were pretty affordable in the city of Pittsburgh, and maybe they'll have 1 or 2 homes that are just full and they're still living in a vehicle, and the homes are inhabitable. You know, and they're full of rodents and things like that, so.
And that's heartbreaking.
It is.
Because people don't have to live like that because there is help.
Right, and I think it's not a new problem. I think unfortunately for specifically public safety, we became muted to it, you know, similar to working in a hospital with alarm fatigue. You know, there's all of this background noise happening around you, and you're looking at in terms of things in 15-minute blocks from 911 call to 911 call. You know, so I think it wasn't addressed, and now, post-pandemic, I think there's a lot of interest now and light shown on mental health, and I think it's starting to really get traction.
What kind of reaction do you get from someone who is a hoarder when you go to respond to their home in the event of an emergency? Are they receptive to your help?
Some people are. Some people are apologetic. You know, there'll be years and years worth of clutter, but perhaps they'll say, well, I was just in the process of moving or something like that. Often they want help. So there'll be indicators that specifically, can't speak for the other bureaus, but the fire department, we're really becoming to pick up on these indicators, and we're starting to get people to help.
And then what do you do once you find it?
Well, often a lot of the crews will, responding persons will call Area on Aging right off the bat, right from the home, if the homeowner is willing to. So we're trying to get interventions immediately as soon as we find these issues. If the homeowner doesn't want any help at that time, they'll notify up through the chain of command of what's going on in that home. Usually we'll convene like a panel of people. We'll discuss it and try to come up with a game plan of what we're going to do. Specifically the less impact to and trauma to the person in their home, and we'll take an action from there.
So for someone who might be in that situation right now watching the show, I guess what I'm hearing you say is it's going to be up to them how much action is taken. So they shouldn't worry that if they call for help that someone's going to come clean out their house.
No.
That's not how it works.
No. Usually we can bring food or other services if you need immediate point of need and things like that. We can kind of, especially with the winter months coming, we can get over those hurdles for you and work with you, and then link you up with the appropriate persons to get you the help you need.
And I think that's important to note, that you can call for help and not worry that somebody's going to come judge you or clean out your entire house. It would be a slow process, and you'd kind of be in control of that, right?
Yes,
at
yep,
your pace.
At their pace.
I think that's so important. It's fascinating to hear what you guys have to deal with, and also the struggles of so many of our neighbors here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. There's a large percentage of our population in the city of Pittsburgh that's forgotten, that people just don't know they still exist. And primarily it's the 65 and older population. A city of Pittsburgh size nationally, every day 11 people turn 65, and there's a host of problems that go along with that. And sometimes they just don't get that attention that they need, and problems just compound over the years, and it gets to the point where it's snowballed to the point where it's a crisis. So right now, you know, specifically the fire department we're trying to intervene with those processes and head off any problems that we can early on. There's a lot of fantastic programs in the city of Pittsburgh. It's just hard for people to get to them or even know about them. So we're trying to bring light to a lot of those.
And that's why we're having you on. So we
Yeah.
appreciate you being here.
That's my pleasure.
How would you describe this problem in terms of the things that you face, things maybe that aren't having lights shown on them? Is this one of the biggest problems that you have to deal with?
Well, specifically, I look at the older population. I mean, you know, to summarize it, the fire department's basically a Swiss Army knife of public safety. If there's no need to send police or EMS, they'll send the fire department. So we're pretty much the canary in the cave. We'll see problems start from the very beginning. So if you look at the 911 calls, you may see 15, 20, 30 calls that there's only fire department interaction in. So we're starting to recognize that fact and trying to get an intervention within there. And we're finding that specifically the group that we're looking at, we see a lot of 64 and a half single females is who we're seeing primarily. They're either widowed, or the family's moved away, or they're estranged. There's a host of reasons for it, but women outlast men usually, statistically, and they're often forgotten. So we'll find them isolated, alone, and with no social support, and we're just trying to link them up with the appropriate agencies.
You guys really are the first line of defense for so many different situations in our town.
Yeah, we're another cog in the wheel of public safety, and we all work together, and I think it's an effective process. I mean, there's flaws in everything, but I think we do a relatively good job, and especially now, post-pandemic, I think all of our bureaus are, really pretty progressive.
And post-pandemic, it made it easier, I think, for people to hide anything that they were dealing with because we learned how to isolate, all of us.
Well, and there was a lot of fear associated with it. So if you're, the target age was over, I think, 55. So if you were 55 plus with some type of pulmonary respiratory issue, you were fearful to be around anybody. I know I was, it was, you would see people driving in cars with a mask on by themselves, so. Yeah, that fear was rightfully so. People were dying in large numbers, and so people just became fearful. And then you add isolation to it; it runs away with itself, turns into possibly some paranoia, and then we get back into the mental health component of things again.
Mm-hmm. So it's important that all of us learn about this because it is impacting so many Pittsburghers, but it's also important for everyone to get the message that there's help available and there's steps that can be taken, that you don't have to live like this.
No, not at all. There is a lot of help in the city of Pittsburgh. It's just finding the right resource for you. And you can find that through your PCP, or even if you call 911 and there's a police officer or fireman or a paramedic, let them know you need help, and they'll link you up with the right person.
Still ahead on For the Record.
They're not alone, not by any stretch of the imagination.
More of my sit down with the local organization whose mission it is to tackle hoarding in Western Pennsylvania. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Michelle Wright. I want to go back now to my interview with Matt and Eva Williams of Fight the Blight, a Westmoreland County-based organization that's tackling hoarding disorder by addressing all aspects of it. This week, we talk more about how they help and the solutions offered to our neighbors who are facing this disorder. There is treatment then.
Oh, definitely.
Talk about that and the promise of being able to kind of rehabilitate.
The first step is really accepting and acknowledging that you have an issue with excessive acquiring. That's the big one, because like Matt said, people want to help their friends, their family, and they have the best intentions in the world, but if they don't accept that they have this problem, it's kind of at a standpoint. But once you accept it, the support group is really the first step, because we go through a whole series and you learn why you are acquiring. You learn how to take segments of your day to sort and organize. And once you do take part in the support group and you go through the process, we also help with sorting and organizing. We have professional organizers. We have cleaning teams that we use, and we'll go in and help you declutter. We get dumpsters for people. We've gone in with U-Hauls and cleaned out places. And so when they're ready, the other side of it is there too. But really, it's the support group is the first step. It truly is.
I think a lot of people watching this, if they have a family member or a friend that has an issue, they might want to go in and, like you said, just take everything and help them, and that's the wrong approach.
It's the instinct that we all have, but it's important to understand that the way we look at their home is not, and their things, is not necessarily how they're looking at their things. And they are their things. You know, we have to respect them, and really focusing on the fact that this is maybe becoming a safe, dysfunctional situation, you know, where they're maybe not able to cook their meals, or, you know, they're not able, we talked about first responders, highlighting those kind of safety issues and such is more productive than really impressing upon them our views of how their home should be kept and what things they should keep and which things they should part with. They really need to make that decision, and they can't do that easily without really taking a look at why it's important to them in the first place.
And I will say that we are not here to make absolutely anybody get rid of their stuff. We're not here. We are here to help them live a functional life, to make their homes functional. When their home is functional, we have succeeded.
And to not part with all of the things, but to be able to use and appreciate and celebrate the things that they do have that are really important. You know, because so many important things just get kind of lost in the clutter over time that really mean something, and it gets mixed in with all the other things that maybe not so much.
So what is the first step? You said find a support group. How do you do that?
Well, through our website, fighttheblightinc.com, has information as far as, you know, our phone number, which is 724-739-3785. They can call or text. A lot of people like to text now. We get a lot of texts. Email info@fighttheblightinc.com. Just really reach out to us, and anybody that's really willing and wants to start to make a change with this, we can help. We can't really help. A lot of people ask, can we intervene? You know, can we go in and can I report my neighbor? Or can you do something for this person? Probably, unfortunately, not so much. You know, as far as if they're not ready to make a change, it's more difficult, like so many things.
How do you help someone become ready?
I think, you know, really going back to speaking from a point, you know, of respect and empathy for the situation, while highlighting to them, you know, the safety concerns and the things that we've talked about. And really, in the end, you can't make somebody feel, you know, that they want to change. If they, you know, if they don't want to change, they probably, you know, not much would be successful. But there are really a lot of people out there that we found are ready to make a change. And, you know, so you start with that. You know, there's enough people out there that have gotten into this situation and no longer want to have it be this way. And, you know, so we focus with them first, but the issue will increase. You know, as our population is aging, our baby boomers coming into those older years, and you know, studies have shown, you know, as I said, we will not only get to a point where a greater percentage of our population is elderly, but there's also so many more ways to accumulate items now than there was even 5 or 10 years ago, when we think about Amazon and Temu and all these things. So it's going to become more prevalent, and you know, we just need to have that understanding that what we've seen on some of the television shows that have been out there, it's good television, but it's not an effective approach, and it's not recommended. The big clean-outs that people see, the 15, 20 dumpster fulls, that's not typical or recommended. It can be, you know, it can be more problematic.
And I like what you said, that people are not alone when they're facing this issue, that I think Pittsburghers would be surprised to know how common the problem is.
I agree. I really do, because well, we have a lot of times people, like Matt said, you know, they want to help their friend, and you know, and then the friend is ashamed or feels alone, and they're really not alone. I mean, it truly, I was so excited. It truly warmed my heart. It really did. Whenever our first group, they made friends. They're still friends. We get invited to Eaton Park with them. They meet up all the time, and it's fantastic because they help them. And we've had people, like her husband passed away, and she just did not want to part with his things. And after our group, and meeting friends and talking it out. She sold all of his Volkswagen things, and she made some money and she made some room, and she was so excited. And so, yeah, they're not alone, not by any stretch of the imagination.
And there's no shame in asking for help.
No, not
Never.
at all. They love the group. I love the group.
Yeah,
we
love
look
it.
forward to it.
It's one of the most rewarding things in my life. It really is.
It truly
and there's
is.
so many rewarding things in life, you know, that I recognize, you know, but seeing the change in the people that have come is just phenomenal to me, and you know, I'm just so thankful for that. And we would just love to continue to do more of it. And you know, I would encourage anybody out there that does have, you know, a friend or a family member, or if you're dealing with the issue yourself, please, you know, don't hesitate to reach out. And you know, we would love to offer this in many more areas. We really do it in Westmoreland County right now. That's where we're based. We're based in Irwin, and so we've been more of a Westmoreland County type of an organization. We would love to be in Allegheny as well, but we need more people that are willing to learn, you know, how to do this. It's not a big learning curve. It's really more about caring and having that empathy and concern for the situation, and we can.
Western Pennsylvania is so good at that.
It really is.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It really is.
really is.
Finally, I would like for both of you to maybe say something to anyone out there who might be struggling. If there was one thing that you could say to encourage them, what would that be?
I would say reach out. You're not alone. You're not alone. And please contact us. I will do whatever I can to help. Whatever it is. I mean, we've gone to houses. We've, you know, like I said, we talk on the phone. But please just reach out, because you're not alone. And you would be amazed what a 16-week program can do to your life. It's transforming. It really is.
Stay tuned. There's more For the Record coming up after this.